All right, so let's go ahead and finish this. In the last video, I put a roller bearing underneath here. I didn't like it, so I took it off. This is more videos about sort of your basic sumo design. So I'm going to go ahead and add the wheels in now. When I click Insert here, I'm going to search under Other Documents for the public documents. And once again, under PPHS Sumo, you will find my public document that has lots of these little parts. I'm going to find some wheels. What I will tell you about the wheels while this is loading is that the wheels, um, they are a 3D printed hub and O-ring tires. So they're actually more than one piece. So rather than looking under my parts within PPHS Sumobots, I'm going to look under assemblies because I've already assembled these here. So you can see there's 1.5 wheels, 1.5 inch wheels, 2.5 inch, and 2 inch. I'll tell you the 2.5 inch wheels are what I want to use here because I used the tall motor mounts. If I use the other wheels, they won't be big enough to actually touch the ground beneath my chassis. So I'm going to select this 2.5 inch wheel. I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 of them because we want 2 wheels here. Click the green check. I'm going to go ahead and fasten them. I'm going to fasten them. One side of the wheel has a little boss on it, so I'm going to use that, the center of that hole. And I'm going to go ahead and look in here. And I want the center of that to be right up against the stop here on the motor. So right there, I use this surface here. That center is the center of that arc. Okay, it looks pretty good. I could try to line up the D shaft here by rotating it. It doesn't look like it's going to easily. I don't want to deal that much with it, so I'm just going to leave it. That's okay. In the real world, you would just assemble that correctly. For the CAD, I don't think it's essential that that gets lined up here for our purposes. What I do want to kind of point out at this point is that this is looking good, but one of my whole points of having this cutout was that I would be able to easily change my wheels day of if I wanted to pull them on and off. And it's looking like I won't be able to. I don't think I'd be able to slide this wheel in and out. So I'm going to go back to some of my old parts and I'm going to modify them so that I would be able to do that. Let's go ahead and attach the other wheel first, though. Fasten mate. Right there. Let's find that little surface where the D shaft becomes the round shaft. Pardon my kids in the other room. Let's flip it. There we go. That looks pretty good. And once again, same problem over here. I'm not going to be able to take that wheel out. So let's go back to these parts. This is a nice thing about CAD is that you can see something. Maybe if you've been planning, you wouldn't have noticed that. But now that you're putting it together, you're going, hey, this isn't going to work. It looks like the chassis is big enough. It's not rubbing up against there. But I'm just thinking about pulling this wheel on and off. Might be easier if I have a larger space here. So let me go back to Part Studio 1, where I made that part. I believe it wasn't the back plate. I think it was Extrude 3 here. Yep, let me actually rename Extrude 3. Let's go ahead and name this side plate. All right, so a side plate is based off Sketch 1. Let me click Sketch 1 and look at this here. So before I had a 4 centimeter high space. I can make that bigger. I can make it wider. I can do a lot of things. I think I'm going to actually make it round. I know that I'm using a 2.5 inch wheel. So let me go ahead and do a hole. Let me make that a little bigger than 2.5 inches. Let's make it 2.75 inches. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this circle has to be coincident, which means touching these little corners down here. So I'm going to click here. That corner is touching, and then this one over here, touching. Hey, and there it is. It's going to sit right inside there. At this point, let me get rid of the other parts. Let me press Escape so I have no tool selected. I'm going to get rid of this little part of this border here. clicking and deleting these lines that I had before. I'm going to make this a round hole. Now, this would be a much harder thing to saw. You could trace it out. You could saw it by hand with a jigsaw. If I'm going to CNC these on like a router or something, this would be so easy to do. And it would make my bot look really cool, actually. So I like that. I'm going to click the green check mark. Now, when you make a change, you got to see how is what you did going to respond to it. Sometimes it's no problem at all, and it looks like it was no problem here. But I might need to go back in later and modify the extrusion. If I change some of my borders, I might need to go back and kind of redo some of these other things if I didn't do it well the first time. Somebody who's good at CAD will likely sort of anticipate those problems and make it so that if they make changes to their model later, that it won't matter. But this one turned out really good. You can see I had mirrored that part over here, so that mirror also occurred. Let's go to my assembly now and see what it looks like. That actually looks really good. I was thinking I might have to adjust the up and down of this at all, but that looks really good. I'm actually a little bit surprised. But now it'd be really easy to pull that wheel on and off. I still have that wheel sort of recessed and hidden. This is maybe a good video to talk about making additional adjustments. I don't think my wheels need to be that hidden. It looks like now that it's said and done, I can push them out farther. So let's go ahead and let's make that modification too. Let's go back to Part Studio 1. Sumobot chassis sketch, my very first sketch. Look at this sketch here. I can see I actually made it 3 centimeters deep. I don't need to be that deep at all. Let's try 2 centimeters. Because my right side was marked to be equal, that also was adjusted. So let me select that. Let me make sure it regenerates well. That looks good. Let's go back to the assembly and see. It's pushed those wheels out. Because this edge got pushed, the motor mount got pushed out as well. And I really like that. My wheel is still recessed and sort of hidden and safe from the other Sumobots. But, if anything else I might want to change about this, let me hide the top. I'm thinking I don't need to have these motor mounts so far forward. I can move it back till this wheel's almost touching the back. I'm going to shift this wheel farther back. So let's go ahead and do that. Back to Part Studio 1, Sumobot chassis sketch. I gave myself 2 centimeters there. Let me change that to 1 centimeter. Let's see what it looks like now. Everything regenerates well. Looks good. I like that a lot better. Let's put the top back on it. There we are. It's looking good. Okay. So I can see from my right view, it's going to sit on these wheels here. This front edge of my scoop will be what touches the ground. So anyways, these are kind of the ways you'll go back. You would tweak and make little modifications. As you finish this, you'll kind of start to see, oh, I'd rather have it back a little bit, forward a little bit. And the joy of doing this in CAD rather than just cutting and assembling it is that you see that how it looks, kind of realistically before you make any cuts in your material, before you potentially waste it. So anyways, this is sort of finishing up the chassis. Next video, I'll talk about making sure all your electronics fit on the inside.